Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Kickin Show, the official podcast of Kicking the Tires. It's been a little while since we have had a show. This is our first show, I guess, of the 2022 new year. Joining us tonight, Seth Eggert and Zach Catanzaretti. Guys, how are you doing? Seth, obviously you are up in Mooresville, and Zach, that reminds me of Pennsylvania.
What reminds you of PA?
Of your background.
The background, yeah, this is the Pennsylvania home. It actually wasn't too cold today, but we just got off of a pretty big snowstorm and it's been ice cold, so I'm already missing North Carolina already. It's only been a few months, but I know how the winters work down there and I know how the winters work up here, and it's not a good time to be up here, but it's how everything worked. It's nice and toasty inside though. Well,
you know, Seth can elaborate on this because he's there. I'm flying to Charlotte on Thursday, so
hasn't been much better now.
That's what I'm hearing. It's going to be horrible.
We got about 3 inches of snow this past weekend, and we're supposed to get somewhere between a trace and 3 inches of snow this weekend.
Let's go for the trace because I'm driving a rental car, so
it's one of those days.
Yeah. I didn't get a Jeep. The only thing that happened that made this trip any easier is I was already angling to change my flight because I was supposed to fly in at 11 o'clock tomorrow night, or Thursday night. And for those who don't know, we're filming the show tonight on Wednesday. And I was supposed to land at like 11:30 on my usual late night flight. I started angling to kind of change my flight earlier in the day. Then this morning, a weather alert popped up. And I'm like, yes, because that means no change fees or anything. They just want you on the earlier flights. And yes, I'm cheap. So I changed my flight. I leave out early in the morning, which is a good thing and a bad thing. I still have to wash clothes. I still have to pack, and my room is a disaster. You can't see it, but if I turn the camera, it is like there's a mountain of stuff this high, wherever my hand's at, this high over there. And just, I haven't even had the care to clean things up and get ready for 2022. I am drug into this year kicking and screaming.
Well, we're already about 3 weeks into the year. So it's not like the year just started. You're off to a pretty rough start. You've had some time already.
You know, I mean, yeah, I've had some time, and but I'm like, do I really want to go to Charlotte? Do I want to fly to LA for the Clash and then come all the way back out to Daytona for that? And I'm like, oh my God, my travel for the first, 4 weeks of this year, first 4 to 5 weeks of this year is, insane. And you hear fans like, oh, I'd love to do that. You would love to do it until you do it. And then you'd realize that being on the road 30 something weeks out of the year, it's not always fun. Zach, you know about it.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're a little lucky because I know 2 years ago, the Hall of Fame induction was the 30th and the 31st. So if it was this year, it would be the week before the Clash. So at least you have an off week in between that's a big turnaround.
Well, it's only an off week if you're not going down to Daytona for the Rolex.
And normally I go to the Rolex.
Are you doing that? But are you doing it this year?
I'm not doing it. Yeah. So, okay. I said that, last year? I wasn't in the Rolex. And then round trip tickets to Orlando were $99. So what did I do? I flew in on Saturday and flew out at 6 a.m. Monday morning back to Texas and was in my office by roughly 9:30, which is about the time I get in there anyway. So, as of now, I don't plan on doing the Rolex. But if tickets drop to $99 round trip, I'll fly in. I mean, why not? You don't need a hotel room for the Saturday night you're there because you're going to be at the track all night. And if you remember, I was like the only person there last year for the media, I had my whole media suite. And remember, I was freezing because they turned the heater off. And yeah, It was
because
brutal.
they probably didn't know there was a media member.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was much chilly. So Seth, what's happening in Mooresville?
Well, honestly, not a whole lot of. For me, the semester just started back up at the college, so working there again. Still an administrator there in the tutoring center. So far, I believe we've had 3 students come in the first week and a half.
First week and a half of the semester, and they already know that they're going to fail, so they have to go to Seth for tutoring.
I wouldn't put it that way. I'm saying that because I work at the college.
I'm just saying. You know.
But,
I was in college years ago. Zach, you were in college. You know what it's like.
Yeah. Well, Seth's job is to make the students better, make everything a little easier to digest. So as long as you do that, then it should be fine.
As long as it's classes I can tutor, we still don't have any tutors other than myself and my assistant. So
that's called job security.
Yeah. True,
there you go.
True. But aside from that, we had snow. That's about it.
It's a snow days. Well, let's jump in here. We've got obviously in the off season over the Christmas break, there was some big news with Brandon Brown. If you wanted to be ahead of the game, you read it on Kicking the Tires because we had it first every time. Brandon Brown signed a deal with LGB coin. That's the Let's Go Brandon coin. He had permission from NASCAR to put the logo and everything on the car, according to an email that was shared with me. And after that, the entire world. Then NASCAR said, no, you don't have permission. So then we wrote the story that they didn't have permission. But then we wrote the story that Brandon Brown is doing a multi-million-dollar personal services agreement for LGB coin, which is a end run around NASCAR and their rules on having LGB on the car, which actually might bode well for us at Kicking the Tires to get something, get our logos back on the 68 Xfinity car for Brandon Built Motorsports. I'm angling for that. And then now there's like James Catoulis, who owns is the backer or whatever holder of most of the LGB coin. He is going to sue NASCAR. So what's you guys' hot take on this? Because I mean, it's been fun covering this. I feel bad for Brandon. I feel bad for NASCAR, but it seems like somebody would just sit down and say, look, okay, we'll suck it up, because it's Brandon's name. You know, I mean, come on. What if they said, let's go Dale? Okay. What if they'd have been shouting, let's go Dale? Could then we not have Dale Jr. stuff? And I mean, I that's my problem there, because I think that Brandon's getting picked on because something happened that wasn't his fault when he won Talladega.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of lightly following it. I guess I have a question, because I didn't like NASCAR. They approved it first. That's why they came out with the announcement after it was approved, or maybe like the paint scheme or something, and then ended up retracting it later.
It was, if I remember correctly, what Bob Pockris had tweeted out, and I'm using Bob as a reference for a reason here. Bob had said that there was a portal that's usually used for them to submit paint schemes and sponsors for approval, and that portal was actually down at the time.
Just to clarify, that portal was down frequently. When Kicking the Tires was approved for the Nashville race, they had to go around and do it the backup way to get the sponsorship approved. So,
and that's one of the reasons why I'm referencing Bob, because I knew you would have more info. And I forget if it was Bob or Jordan Bianchi who said that the person who gave approval didn't have the authority or the final authority to give approval, or something along those lines.
Yeah, Jordan may be a little off on that, because this is the same person that always gives the approval. from what my understanding is. But this went to the highest levels of NASCAR. It went all the way up to Steve Phelps. The decision was made, and Brandon lost a sponsor for now until we'll see how this plays out. At the end of the day, the bad part is you've got a team who is struggling financially, who could get $10 million roughly. And in the Xfinity series, that's a hell of a lot of money. And now it's all in limbo. And, luckily Brandon's going to do the personal services stuff. But this has gotten way out of hand. And in my opinion, and it needs to be fixed. So what? Someone made "Let's Go Brandon" mean F Joe Biden. Okay. No one at NASCAR was complaining when fans in the stands and others were, and actually not that many of them, but when Trump was president, there were people that criticized Trump. Half the damn media center did it. I mean, literally when Trump showed up at Daytona, there were eye rolls and catcalls and trash talking from our own media people. Yet now it's an egregious, sin of all sins, because someone twisted "Let's Go Brandon" into F Joe Biden. So I think I will call out some of our media members who are hypocrites on this whole issue, and they know who they are. They can go back and think about what they've said to people and how they didn't like Trump. And when Trump was there at the Daytona 500, I don't care what political side you're on, whether you're Republican or Democrat. It's still the office of the president, and you got to respect both of them, even if you don't like them. So you can't have it one way when you like the guy and another way when you don't like the guy. And that's my biggest problem on all of this.
I guess I'll be a little honest here. I was probably one of those who didn't like the fact that Trump was at the 500, but I never said anything about it. I mean, I'm sure, Jerry, this is the first time you're actually hearing that.
It doesn't matter to me, because
but what I was going to say is the reason why I didn't say anything is because I respected the office.
Exactly. And
so I didn't like the fact that he was there, and I don't like the fact that "Let's Go Brandon" was turned into what it is. Both can be true at the same time.
I think Brandon should be able to take this and spin it and use it for himself and force the message to be about him and not Joe Biden. That's the only way this gets beyond what it is. And, look, I do crisis management PR for a couple of companies and marketing down here in Texas. That's what I would tell my client. If anybody asked me, "Oh, are you a Biden supporter?" No, I'm not. Are you a Trump supporter? More so than I am Biden. But it doesn't matter. My personal opinion doesn't matter how I cover something, other than full disclosure. We are a media partner with Brandon Brown and Brandon Motorsports. We're not a media partner with Donald Trump, and we're not a media partner with Joe Biden. So we just need to let this kid race and figure out how he's going to get sponsors on the car so he can do that. Zach, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I mean, I know you followed some of that, and I know that you were there, when this stuff went down.
Yeah, and really the biggest thing is you kind of touched on Brandon himself. I mean, all these drivers, they're all here to race. They all want to drive a race car for a living. The sponsorship side and having to deal with that pressure and all those commitments. That's secondary stuff. That's things that you have to do to stay at the upper levels of NASCAR, to stay at the upper levels of any auto racing series in the world. And I've gotten to know Brandon a lot, especially over the last year, or last about half a year since we've been working with the team. And he's a great guy. He's always so optimistic about every race weekend, because he knows that this team is just edging closer and closer to that that top 10 mark, and making the playoffs every year on points, not having to get a fluke win to get in. Like they're so close to getting into that next step up the ladder when it comes to competitiveness. And Xfinity's tough because there's a lot of small teams, and it looks like we're going to lose another big team this year with Penske. Sounds like they might not be coming back with Cindric obviously up to Cup, and that'll help the small teams a little bit. But the series overall just doesn't have a lot of major teams up front, and that makes that mid-pack race super intense for guys like Clemens and the BJ McLeod cars, and put Brandon Brown right in the middle of that. So to make those enhancements every year, a sponsor like this might do the trick. And to see them, get a few top fives last year, career high top tens, obviously the Talladega win. It was great to see. It's great to see that with any small team, but especially with someone like him who's had it really tough over the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. He's been in, Trucks Xfinity. It was great to see. So it hurts to see something like this, no matter what, side it kind of comes on, or the reasoning behind everything. I try to look at it as a driver who's trying to make his dream become a reality, and he's been doing it the humble way, the honest way, for many years. And you want to see somebody achieve what they want to when they do it the right way.
You mentioned some of the other teams that are in the Xfinity series that aren't going to be here with Penske. There's a lot of things happening in the Xfinity series, and we typically focus on Cup, and we'll get to a little bit of Cup stuff in just a few minutes. But we had an announcement that Seth's going to talk about in a couple of minutes about Ryan Vargas signing with JD Motorsports. And JD Motorsports, another small team that I've done a lot of work with in the past. Good people over there. Johnny Davis and those guys are always, we've always got the door open and the hauler available. Come over there, hang out, eat lunch, talk to them, whatever. You've got Ty Gibbs. It's a big team who's going to be doing some Xfinity stuff. We just got an update on that his full plans have not been released, I guess, sponsor wise and etc. If y'all have it, let me know. I haven't checked in the past 24 hours, but I did just get an update from Joggins Racing. And then you've got some of these you've got another, what is it? Is the money team team, is that going to be an Xfinity team, or is that going to be a Cup team? Cup. Okay. So Seth, tell me about Ryan's deal, because I do know what it is, but this was going on behind the scenes, and you were kind of involved and knew about this because of Ryan and some of the iRacing stuff that you've done.
Yeah, between Ryan and some of his crew members that I compete with on Monday Night Racing, it was one of those where we knew, but he couldn't say anything, and nothing was confirmed. But he finally confirmed it today that he's going to be running full time for JD Motorsports in the yet to be announced car number next year. He's going to be teamed with Bailey Curry, who they announced last month will be running full time with them. And granted, he's still looking for sponsorship for the season. So it's kind of similar to last year, where they had announced him full time, but then there were a handful of races where he didn't have sponsorship, and someone with sponsorship at the road courses came and filled in.
Well, Johnny does do some buy a ride stuff, and a lot of that is bring a sponsor, get a ride. That's their business model, but it doesn't make him any less formidable. I mean, they may not be competing for the win, but you got to remember, those who are competing for 30th to 35th or 25th to 30th, they're racing just as hard or harder than the guys that are racing for 1 through 5, because the guys who are racing for 1 through 5, they've got damn good equipment, lots of talent, lots of money, lots of backing. And those bottom tier teams do what?
Cars that drive well.
Cars that drive well. Exactly. And those bottom tier teams have cars that drive like crap. I mean, I could tell you stories about some of the back marker teams that and some of the parts that they were racing with that were technically broken or were 4 years old. Okay.
And
So-
speaking of stories, one which you can read on kickintires.net. I wrote about Ryan earlier this month in a feature story. He actually talked about how in 2018 he was going to be done racing. His family couldn't afford it. The way he continued racing was through Drive for Diversity. He went to what was then the Canadian Pro Series East, now ARCA East. Spent a season there, caught the attention of JD Motorsports and Johnny Davis. They put him in the car at Iowa in 2019, and he ran top 15 most of the race, finished, I think it was 17th or 18th a lap down or 2 laps down, which in his debut, that's pretty impressive. And then he was able to get that TikTok deal, which changed the course of his career. That's what led to him having that full-time ride last year, and in turn this year. And one of those weekends he had the TikTok car was the first weekend all 4 JD Motorsports cars had a full sponsorship wrap in the history of the organization.
I want to think that some of his success was dependent on his sponsor's provisional that he used in an iRacing event
last year
that we were involved with. You know, I'm pretty sure that had to having that kickinthitires.net sponsorship to get
speaking
your
of
car,
which, I'll let you finish first.
That had to help. That had to help his career.
It definitely helps with the fan base because he does stream his races now.
Heck yeah.
And we will actually be sponsoring at least 10 FTF races next year for the Fans Racing League.
There's more than 10.
That's why I say at least 10.
Yeah, I've got to pay the bill. It's actually we're sponsoring the playoffs.
Yes.
The entire 10 race playoffs of the for the Fans Racing League, NASCAR Cup Series, or whatever they're calling it.
The I think it's just FTF Cup Series.
Okay, FTF Cup Series. Yeah, but we are the. Thank you, Justin Malelo. Thank you, everybody that made it happen. I started to go through the list and do all these little check boxes of which races I want to. We're going to have COTA, and I think there's another one that we're going to have.
And I think Justin's going to have one as well with center step racing. Or...
I gave Justin the cutoff race at Daytona. So he'll have that leading into the Kickin' the Tire stuff. But yeah, I just said, look, I'm not going to shotgun this. I want the whole thing. And that's how I did it.
Now
it cost me. I had to give up Nashville. I had to negotiate.
Yeah.
I had to pay for Nashville and give it to somebody else.
Hey, but it worked out in the end.
Yes.
And for a change in luck for me lately, I actually had a good race on
You won?
iRacing. No.
Oh, okay.
I said a good race. I didn't say a great race. A group of media, Motorsports media from France had actually reached out because they cover Euro NASCAR, and they had found a Euro NASCAR story that I wrote. It was before I was with Kickin, and they invited me to run with them.
Well, what's funny is I'm actually going overseas as soon as COVID and all this crap, kind of dies off. I'm supposed to go over there and hang out with the Euro NASCAR guys for the week. And I was actually working that deal at last year, mid last year. Yeah, that's a reality. So that'll be kind of cool that you're going to be involved in that.
Yeah, they invited me to come and race their Clash, which was super late models at Bristol. I started 24th. By lap 30, I was in the top 10. Got up to the lead around lap 75, led 3 laps, fell back and ran somewhere between 4th and 8th, and ended up 6th at the end of the night.
Good job. Zach, are you ever going to get involved in sim racing, fantasy iRacing?
Yeah, I don't think so. I guess I'm a little late. I mean, I did a few races back. This was like 2015, maybe. I had iRacing for a couple months, and I had one league that I did in 2013. We just used NASCAR Inside Line, so that was the 2012 game, I think, on Xbox 360. So that's just, you know, handheld controllers. I was super into it. Like, I was obsessed. I kept track of all the stats, and I had like a website for the league, and I kept track of everyone's statistics, like Racing Reference, and did articles, and I was big into it. But eventually they switched to iRacing, and I went over. I did a couple races in that season, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was cool to feel the car. It's a lot different from a console game, but yeah, I ended up just kind of.
And we got to get you involved. I could just, I mean, I know you're big time and all with New York and working at CNN, but you know, we gotta.
Hey, some of the Coke Series drivers got their start on NASCAR Heat, NASCAR Thunder, NASCAR 08.
Right.
So, and some of those teams have actually announced their drivers. Some have changed manufacturers, and some have even changed names. Klickerman Sport is now E-Racer, and it's now co-owned by Landon Castle. Richmond Raceway Esports is now Rise Esports. Charlotte Phoenix is new to the grid. And there's still one team we haven't confirmed yet.
Yeah, we're trying to become it.
XSET, which is aligned with Anthony Alfredo, switched from Ford to Chevy.
If they come up and tell me that I don't have to pay $3,000, I'll do it. I mean, if it were half that, we're in.
Williams Esports switched from Chevy to Toyota. Richmond Raceway, or Rise Esports, switched from Toyota to Chevy. And the only driver pairing, or new driver pairing anyway, that I called preseason was Parker Retzlaff and Caden Honeycutt, the two real-life racers that are on the grid this year. They both drive Fords in the series they competed in, respectively. Parker in Xfinity, ARCA, and ARCA East. Caden in the Cars Tour. And I had said to Justin Melillo, they'll end up with one of the real-life Ford teams on the service. And they got picked up by RFK Racing.
Well, like I said, Kicking the Tires Racing may be a reality before it's all said and done. We'll just see. They, if someone would just call me and talk to me about it, maybe we could work something out.
Well, I did email.
I saw it. I read the whole thing, but they haven't. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I have their business card, so I could shoot you their number.
Yeah,
later.
send me their number. I'll call them up.
Yeah.
Yo, hey.
Yeah.
So, why do y'all make it so hard? Come on. You did mention one thing that got my attention. You talked about Toyota and TR and those guys is kind of switching. I joke about the iRacing stuff because I think we're the most probably the most involved media outlet, mainstream media outlet that covers iRacing and does as far as sponsorships and gets involved. We sponsor drivers. I know we've got a driver sponsorship lined up and some other stuff, but you're talking about Toyota. Kurt Busch met today with the Toyota drivers. This is a big deal for him because Kurt's raced for Ford, he's raced for Chevrolet, and he's raced for Dodge, and now he's raced for, or he will be racing for Toyota. But he was talking about how there's a good crop of young drivers, possible future champions that he met with. It was kind of a round table. He posted about it on the social media and stuff like that. Just getting to know people, and it's my understanding is David Wilson, the people at TRD, they love Kurt. He gives great feedback. He's easy to work with. I've known Kurt for a long time. And so it's good to see him settling in over at 2311. And, I mean, there could be worse things than, Michael Jordan being your boss. Now, I will say this. We joked about Bubba Wallace and Denny Hamlin racing each other. And would Denny wreck Bubba for a win and all that stuff, right? Well, Bubba's gotten his first win. So now what happens if it's Kurt and Denny and Bubba all going for the win. Zach, your thoughts?
Kurt wins.
Well, I'll say this: if Kurt wins, he'd be the only driver with a win in a Chevy, a Ford, a Toyota, and a Dodge.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is going to be interesting to see. I think Kurt wins because he will wreck the hell out of all of them. But Denny better get his checkbook out. So,
Has Denny had an issue before? I'm trying to think if
they did have an issue years ago.
Did they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they had like one issue.
I think Kurt might have been with Penske at that time.
Yeah. Kurt had a lot of issues when he was at Penske.
Yeah.
I mean, Look, Kurt is a good friend of mine, but he's had a lot of issues through the years. Okay. I'm waiting. I'm hoping he comes to me and I get asked to write the Kurt Busch story from like beginning to end. I want to write the book on Kurt.
I do have to also mention this one thing real quick, because Spire Motorsports, I think it is, it might be just Starcom is using Spire to do it, but it's auctioning off a bunch of old race cars, Gen 6 cars. Yeah. There's a Kurt Busch one from 2015.
Sweet.
$1. Starting bid $1.
Where's this at?
I have to go and look this up now.
Like legit, like a real race car?
Yes.
I'll buy it. No lie.
Why don't you announce it on a podcast, Seth?
Yeah.
Hey, it could be edited out.
Why don't you just run the bid up for me now? Thanks a lot. We're gonna move over to Zach real quick while you're looking that up, so that we don't have what's called dead air, and people are tired of hearing me talk. Big weekend this weekend for the NASCAR community with the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Red Farmer, Mike Stefanik, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. going into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Zach, your thoughts? I know you've been following this one.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. That was one of the bummers of last year, was when they had to cancel the whole thing. I mean, it's really cool to see one of the sports, you can argue the biggest name in the history of the sport when it comes to bringing the sport into the 2000s and into the 2010s and now the 2020s. Even when he's not driving, he's still making huge impacts, and that's Dale Earnhardt Jr. And to see him, go into the Hall of Fame, that's going to be a great one. We've seen Tony, seen Jeff, and now I feel like Dale is kind of that next one. And Red Farmer, he represents a whole other class of driver, a whole other class of personality. He brought a lot to the sport. And then the late Mike Stefanik, who we lost just a few years ago, he unfortunately won't be able to accept this, but he had an incredible career, mostly in the modified tour, and everything that he did there was just incredible. So great names. One of the new things is that it's 3 people instead of the original 5. I believe this is the first year that it is 3, if I'm not mistaken. I produced video for the 2020 induction, and it was 5. So that's good.
It has to do, just for the record, it has to do with the number of votes that people actually get. Is my understanding. You have to have a certain number of votes in order to make it.
And it's a max of 3. It's 2 modern era, 1 pioneer era.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing, because I feel like it's been around for over 10 years now. We've gotten a lot of people in it, 5 people every year. A lot of the big names who we've known for a long time, they're all in it already. So now we're starting to eat into the more unrecognizable names, even though they're all very deserving. Perhaps it would take a little less time to get through all of them, because a lot of drivers today, they're having longer careers, and we don't know when they will be up for induction. So it's gonna be a great weekend. Even growing up, it came out in 2010. That was the first. It was always one of my favorite nights of the year, and to take part in it in 2020, and now for it to be back, and hopefully it's a little back to what it used to be. Now it's been a little bit more time. It's a big night for the sport, and I can't wait. Excited.
Are you going to be there?
I won't be there now.
You won't be there? I'll be there. That's why I was wondering. I wasn't sure. I didn't know if you were going to be in New York or how what the schedule was, but
yeah, I'll be up here. It's the first time I'm missing it in quite a while. So
are you going Real quick, are you going to be at Daytona?
No Daytona.
No Daytona.
Yeah.
Wow, Zach's a busy man.
Right, big time.
So I found that option.
I see it.
Yeah, apparently it's just the chassis. It's not the entire car.
Okay.
But the chassis is $6.50 right now.
There's no skin to it?
No skin.
Okay.
But I will say this because some teams are doing this. They're converting the old Gen 6 Cup cars into either Xfinity cars or ARCA cars.
I was going to ask, do you think that, is it a roller? Does it have wheels on it?
Let's see. It says on jack stands.
On jack stands. Man, because how cool would this be if I buy that and give it to Ryder and turn it into an ARCA car?
But there's several in that or linked to that because it's Starcom's getting rid of everything. There's some Quinn Hoff cars, some their Cope cars, so there might be one in good condition.
I mean, Quinn Hoff, at least when he wrecked, he rarely wrecked, hard.
I was going to say
going that fast.
Derek Cope's Daytona 500 car, his last Daytona 500,
y'all missed that.
Right now is at $350.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Okay. We may own a race car before this is over. I may turn it into a damn kick in the tire show car. How about that? How about that? Because I'll do it. That's right. I'm going to bid. Y'all are going to cost me money. Thank you, Seth, for costing me money. Just for the record, earlier today I bid on 17 vintage slot machines from the 1920s. Why? Because they were there. You've never seen it.
It was at $350 earlier today.
Well, trust me, I've got a 1930s.
It's at $1,100 now.
Okay. Well, I've got a 1930 slot machine in my closet that if I sell it, I could buy the car. I don't care how much, unless it goes for like 20 grand. So I can I collect those things and restore them. But yeah, we will be looking at a car. We will be definitely looking at a car.
And the final car that Quinn Hoff drove at Phoenix last year, which he also crashed because I think it was a tire. But that one is currently at $220.
Wow. Well, like I said, we'll be looking at possibly having a show car for kicking the tires. Can you imagine that rolling up at Daytona or something? Holy crap. That'd be awesome. Zach is like, you're nuts.
A great podcast episode.
But
already.
But
what
like
else? What else do we have? I think you had one more thing that we were supposed to
the
talk
ARCA
about.
test.
You had
the ARCA test.
ARCA test, yeah. Frankie Muniz, or
the actor Frankie Muniz. If you remember correctly, I believe it was Malcolm in the Middle that he was a star on. Agent Cody Banks movies. Big Fat Liar. I could go on and on, but he actually has been a race car driver off and on since 2005.
Apparently he was like in the top 30 or something when he tested out there.
He was 30th out of 36 on day 2.
Okay.
And I think overall he was 53rd out of 63 or something like that. I mean, it was Andy Hillenberg equipment for one. No offense to Andy.
Mm-hmm.
And for another, it's his first time in a stock car of that caliber compared to the late models that he's been driving at Madeira Speedway.
Well, of course. And the equipment that he was in was not Venturini level equipment, but it's still pretty good equipment. And actually, I need to talk to those guys because I'm trying to get Ryder a test in an ARCA car, not at a super speedway because he's only 15. But we're gonna work on that this year as well. ARCA, by the way, Ryder bought a new car. He has an A-class non-restricted micro, and he will be racing that next year at the Tulsa Shootout. And we're going to try to get him into the Chili Bowl as well with another car. And hopefully by then I'll have him an ARCA car if these auctions go off real well.
Speaking of Venturini, Tony Breidinger was the fastest Venturini driver between the 2 days.
You know, that's
And
actually saying something. I'm going to weigh in here because I think they have like 27 cars and 27 drivers. I think if you look at the,
yeah,
we don't have in the ARCA series, you don't have a limit on cars that the team can own. So apparently the Venturinis have like half the field.
they do from time to time.
So I'm just
But-
saying,
But
didn't we have Rev Racing? Didn't Rev Racing do that for a while? They had like, 8 cars or something.
but that was in what's now ARCA East, though.
Okay.
That was not. Last year was their first year in the National ARCA series. I will also say this: Tony Breidinger and Amber Balking, they're both running the full ARCA season this year, and it's the first time ever in ARCA history that 2 women are running the full season in the same year.
Well, I wish them well. There's some talent there, obviously. I mean, they're driving race cars and I'm not. But I wish them well because they're not going to get any slack from those other drivers out there. So it's going to be very interesting. Zach, what is your life like now? What are you doing?
Not a whole lot right now. It's just a lot of planning and getting everything together. CNN Plus, which is our streaming service, officially launches in March. So right now, they're pretty much finally announcing what the shows are going to be. And one of them is with Rex Chapman, who's a former NBA player. He played all throughout the 90s with I think 3 or 4 teams. That's going to be a really fun show. And then a lot of hosts that, if you watch the network, you know their names already. So yeah, we're pretty much just going through with that. I haven't been in the city in about a month because the building, it's only for the people who are necessary for the shows. So people like me, we don't have to go in right now. They keep pushing back the day, so we're not really sure when I'll be going back, into the city, into Hudson Yards, which is the building we work out of. So we're pretty much on standby for that.
So do you work? Do you edit from home, or what do you do?
Occasionally, yeah. I know when I was, I did a little bit with Don Lemon last year, and some of that was from home, and some of that was in the building. It was kind of, back and forth. But yeah, right now it's just a lot of classes still, a lot of like media law training, and just a lot of things that they put us through. For the most part, not a whole lot to do. It's just kind of staying in contact with them and pitching ideas and trying to do as much as you can to get everything in place as soon as possible.
It's a check though, so
it's a check.
Every check pays the bills.
That's for sure.
That definitely helps. What's your racing schedule look like this year? Do you have a clue yet?
I just went through the schedule, and it's so depressing looking at the schedule because I'm used to doing 20 cup races a year. I did that for like 6 or 7 years, but this year it's going to be probably around 5.
Okay, I understand. No worries.
Yeah, plus the Indy 500. That's if everything goes well. Maybe a 6th cup race at the end of the year. But yeah, it looks like 5 I'm pretty certain with.
Well, big news in Kicking the Tires. Justin Schuler and Rachel Schuler are moving from California to Dallas. And so they'll be more centralized in the country. They'll be covering some more races, going to some events with me here at like COTA and Texas Motor Speedway, probably up to Kansas. It's going to be a good deal for them. So they're getting out of off the left coast, but that's what Justin is doing tonight. That's why he's not here with us. He's a slacker and had to wash his hair or something. Now they're packing. They've got to show their house tomorrow. And so all the best to them. Seth, obviously you've already told me what it's like up in Mooresville. There's not a whole lot more racing information other than Tanner Thorson won the Chili Bowl and Christopher Bell gave it to him. And look, no offense to Chris ran one hell of a race. I watched the whole thing. Chris he slid up. Christopher Bell just kind of slid up and got on the cushion and couldn't make the pass. A car got away from him. He couldn't catch him. So is what it is. That's a hell of a race. It's a hard race to win. He's won it multiple times. So best to him and best to Thorson, and then Rico coming in third.
Also, kudos to Kaylee Bryson becoming the first woman to make the A main
Yes.
in the Chili Bowl.
I was trying to get her on the show tonight. Actually, we may have her coming up. I'm reaching out to her to get her on the show. Also working. I don't know if you saw my post yesterday on the Sugarland Shine electric citrus vodka that Dale Earnhardt and Amy Earnhardt have created with Sugarland Shine. And I'm expecting a bottle of that in my spot at the media center at Daytona. But when I was talking to the Sugarland Shine people, I'm like, look, we'll give you some love. We'll talk about Sugarland Shine. I've tried sugar. It's really good. I haven't tried the orange, but I'm looking forward to it. But I said, you got to get Dale Jr. on the show. So, you never know. It might work.
You brought banana mayonnaise sandwiches if you were in Richmond in 2016.
Yeah.
If he brought those, and that's when I first tried them, was in that media center. But if he brought those, I'm sure he's gonna take care of whoever's there.
Well, he liked my tweet. That was the other thing. Now I will say this: he needs to follow me on Twitter. What the hell? I'm just saying. But we're going to try to get Dale Jr. on the show to talk about. Honestly, we could get Amy on the show, and she's better than Dale anyway. So we'll go with the number one with Amy, and then if we can't get Amy, then we'll settle with Dale. How's that? You guys okay with that?
Good to me.
Sounds good to y'all. Anything else we need to discuss before I leave? We have an NMPA this weekend. And for those who are curious, the National Motorsports Press Association has their own induction ceremonies this weekend. Dale Jr. will be at the NMPA. He's being inducted as into our NASCAR NMPA NASCAR Hall of Fame. Steve Kinzer, Richard Howard, Herb Nabb, and Dan Gurney. So it's not all about NASCAR. When you think of the NMPA, for a long time, most people, they joke it's the NASCAR Motorsports Press Association, and I'm the treasurer. That's why I sign the checks. It truly is the National Motorsports Press Association, and we have representation from all forms of motorsports. So if you're watching our podcast tonight, obviously like it, share it, click it, do all the stuff that you need to do. But remember, join the NMPA if you're a motorsports member of the media, because it doesn't matter if you're in Outlaws, IndyCar, F1,
or even esports.
We would love to have you join up, and I'm sure at some point we may even have an esports Hall of Fame member before it's all said and done. So the stuff has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So those are the plans for this weekend. NASCAR Hall of Fame on Friday, NMPA Motorsports Press Association. It's going to be on Sunday with the award ceremony. I think that I know some people got some awards that I know. Don't know what they got because that's a secret until the show. But I was told that I think Kicking the Tires actually is going to be at least got some votes. Hopefully, is what I understand. So that's a good thing. And a lot of good representation, a lot of good writers at NASCAR.com. Obviously, Kelly Crandall, the two-time back-to-back writer of the year. She will be there. She's the president of the NMPA for 2022. And we just had our board. Chris Knight is the vice president. I'm the treasurer, and secretary. So there you go. That's the NMPA rundown, and we'll have more on that next week.
Also, congrats to Chris Knight on the news over at Catch Fence. I believe he's now a co-owner of the site.
Yeah, I've actually known about that one since I don't know, like November.
But since it was officially announced today.
Yeah, he we're going to be doing some stuff with Chris. We're not going to merge sites, or we had talked about like joining together at some point. But I think what we're going to do is some sharing as far as content sharing. And Chris is a repository of pretty much every single press release that goes out. and we have really good content, which we actually need to talk about and pick up on some issues, and get better at. But we're going to start sharing some of those things back and forth, and kind of get a little media consortium going with some of the independent media outlets. And who knows, maybe that'll lead to some sponsorships and some other things. But yeah, that is my long-term plan for us, for Chris, and we'll see what happens. So I guess that's going to do it. Zach, stay warm. I know you're used to it up there. And then Chris Knight just called me. I can show you, he just called me. He said, "Are you still doing the show?" Let me see.
I guess his ears are burning.
Yeah, his ears are burning. So I'm sending him a message right now. I said, "Yes, we're talking about you." So he'll have to watch the show to figure out what we said, and I'll call him when we get off of here. Seth, be careful. I'll see you this weekend.
Yep.
Zach, man, I love you like a brother. I'm gonna have to get up there and hang out with you in the city, and when COVID's over with. So I'll
give you a tour.
I've been to New York a lot, so I might be able to give you a tour on a few things.
I mean, of the building. Hopefully, I can bring you up to the.
Do you think they'll let me? Do you think they would let me in the building?
Don't talk as much, and
then also you'd be with Zach.
Yeah,
I've been to CNN headquarters in Atlanta, by the way.
Atlanta,
I've been to CNN headquarters. I went on the tour and did all that there, and I have friends that work at Fox News, so I just won't say that when we're there.
Yeah. Good idea.
Good idea. So, well, that's going to do it here for us. God bless everybody. Christian Coley and Summer Bedgood, Sarah battling with freaking COVID again. Rachel and Justin out on the West Coast and their moves and everything. Matt Corson working the runway in the icy cold temperatures right now with Southwest Airlines. Also, he'll be doing a lot more stuff for us this year as well. So that's going to do it here for us, the first podcast of the year. Appreciate you guys tuning into the Kickin' Show, and we will see you next week.